welcome back to another video, back in this series of Not a Fan Of. And basically, it's where I like to kind of dive in and show you some of the inner workings of certain guitar players. Today, obviously, we're talking about Eric Johnson. And, you know, a lot of times you hear these players and you're like, how is anyone not a fan of this person? There are plenty, you know, amazing guitar players who are legends who I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of, but through watching them, I've definitely taken little bits and pieces away from them. Now, with Eric, I'm an enormous Eric Johnson fan. Oh, hello, it's me from the future. Just a reminder, if you guys didn't see it yet, make sure you enter to win the American Pro Jazz Master we're giving away. You have 2 weeks to enter it. I'll link it down below and all that stuff. Here's a picture of it. And best of luck to everyone. So back to the video, sorry. And even if you're not, maybe you're not a fan of his tone, his playing, whatever it is, there's still amazing things to take away from just the little details inside of his super unique style. You know, no one really sounds like Eric Johnson other than Eric. So I thought I would show you a couple of these little things that you can incorporate, and you don't have to play like Eric to use this stuff. You know, just throw it in your own playing. So other than that, I'm going to bounce on out of here. You can get the tabs, and let's just get going on the lesson. Whoa! Alright, now the first couple are going to be very common things that a lot of people teach, so you might already have these, so you might want to skip to example number 3 or something like that. But, you know, I want to talk about his use of just spreading out these chord inversions or triads, or, you know, whatever you're looking at them. I see them as triads and different chord inversions that he does a lot. And we're also going to talk about some of his clean playing as well, so we'll get to that here in a minute. But what I'm talking about is kind of what I did in the beginning. All those little ditties that he throws in, or how he'll walk up an entire scale. That kind of thing. Like I said, he'll walk just straight up the chords. I mean, he's Eric, so he's doing incredible things, you know, far better than what I can do. But, you know, it's such a fun thing to play and practice. And like I said, now that is obviously trying to sound in that vein of Eric Johnson. You know, you be the judge whether I'm doing a good or poor job of it. But, you know, there's a lot you can still take away from this. And I've certainly taken a lot away from it in terms of the navigational aspect of it on the fingerboard. You know, a lot of people say like, oh, that sounds very Eric Johnson-y. And certainly I feel like his influence is very strong in my playing. You know, the way I navigate around is a lot to do with the way I learn that stuff. Now, it's not an exact copy, but it's certainly influenced. So let me show you a couple of these things that I did there that are very Eric inspired. Now, these are basically copies. He does very similar things like this. So, you know, a way you can look at this is major, minor, or suspended chords. He does these 3 chords a lot, and there's different variations as well. So, like the first thing here, if you were to do this, this is like a D sus2. So we're going to play 5th fret on the A, 7th fret on the D, 5th fret on the B. Now, if you just left the chord alone there, that would, you know, just be a sus2. Okay, root, 5th, 9, 2, I look at it as being a 2. Okay, now what I did was I continued, I incorporated a little bit of my scale, and I went up to my major 3rd. Okay. Okay, so now we have 2 different chord shapes here. Like I said, sus2, and then major 3rd, making it a good old D major chord. Now I walked up to my E, and I went like this. Now, if we broke down this one a little bit more, we could see there's actually 3, if you really wanted to get the chords of it, there's essentially 3 chords happening. It starts out with an E sus2, but I walk up to that major 3rd, then I go to my 4. So, technically, you could do any combination of these 3 notes and have a sus2, major, and then a sus4. I'm not really like thinking of it that way. I'm thinking of the root of it all being an E, and I'm viewing my scale as part of it. Okay? Now here, I introduced my first minor shape to it. So this is another really common one. Just learn these 3 shapes and you can get a lot out of Eric's playing. 9 on the A, 11 on the D, and then 10 on the B. Okay? So basically that's an F sharp minor. And we're kind of working out the key of E, so if you know your notes of E, I know we started on D, which is kind of funky. But I'm viewing this all as out of the key of E. Now I went to that F sharp minor, okay? And I'm doing nothing but tacking on little pieces of the scale on top of it. I'm not viewing it as like, what am I doing to the chord? I'm just like, okay, let's add a melodic line on top of the chord. Which is just 9, 11, and then 12 on the high string. And we'll just leave that alone right there, you know, just those threes. As I play it super sloppy, let me try that again. Now another huge thing that I stole from Eric was the way he incorporated half-step bends, and he did it really freely is what was really like fascinating about the way that he did it, to the point where I do it all the time now. It's just kind of like embedded whenever I play. But what I'm talking about is he will do these half-step bends whether or not the next note is in key or in the scale, you know, whatever your premises of looking at the fretboard is. He just throws them in everywhere, and like I said, it's such a fascinating sound. What I mean is, like, if you do something like this, he might play like a pentatonic, like, and then you could, like those little lines here. Oh man, or he'll keep it in the scale. You know, he throws stuff like that, and so that half-step bend, and I was like, as soon as I heard him do that, I was like, I want to steal that. Like, it's something I mentioned in so many of my videos is, you know, when you're learning to try to like take away these different styles and stuff from these players, it's not always about like, oh, what's that huge descending run that you know EJ does. It's, well, what was that little like bendy thing that he did there? Like I said, you know, to me those are the things that make up the person's style. So the lick that I was kind of showing you here is this. I'm just gonna go. Okay, so there's the lick. You know, you can do the bend slow or fast, but basically I'm viewing it as my pentatonic scale. You know, Eric does a lot of almost like Mixolydian, Dorian pentatonic blues. You know, as a big part of his sound. So I'm going to start very pentatonic, and I go to a note that is technically not in my scale. I'm going to go 12 on the D to 14. Then I go to 13 on the G. If I just sat there on that note, sounds kind of funky. You know, that to me, now we're venturing minor, almost like harmonic minor. But I do a quick bend, and I go back to 14. Basically, I'm bending 13 up to 14. So this note has a lot of hang time there. This very out-sounding note. So I quickly get off of that note, and I go to 12 on the G, 14 on the G, and then 13. Same thing that we did on the D string, but now this one's not so bad because this is our major third. And I bend it up and back down. Just a half-step bend, and they're real quick. And first one I bent down, second one I bent up. That's just a personal preference. Now I'm going to go to 12 to 15 on the B, and I play 14, and I bend it up a half step. Okay, so. Okay, now here we have I'm just kind of finishing off with a classic blues lick, maybe not necessarily an Eric Johnson style doing it, but I'm playing 12 on the high string and B, a little like kind of finger roll action here, and I bend 15 up to your root. I could keep going with it. Like I said, you don't have to stop there. I just kind of wanted to make the lick kind of easy to digest. And like I said, I do it all the time in my playing. Not necessarily always in that Eric Johnson style, but that's where I got it from. So try to incorporate that. It's such like a fascinating thing. It's a very almost like jazz idea, because jazz players will start behind the note and slide up, but you know, jazz doesn't necessarily have as much bending as, say, rock guitar does in it. So Eric is kind of like, it's like jazz. If you've never heard his electromagnetic stuff, it's very fusion jazz based. But he's incorporating a lot of rock elements with the bend, and it sounds different. You know, there's sliding. Now, of course, we have to talk about this. I did a video a little while back called the Eric Johnson Trap. If you haven't seen it and you really want to deep dive into what I'm about to show you a little bit more, go check that video out. What I'm talking about is Eric Johnson. He's very famous for his descending fives, and it's definitely 100% who I got him from. And I do it all the time in my own playing, and it's all from Eric. And it's a very fascinating thing to get down, and learning how to transition down the neck is a little bit more of a challenge to it. But if you're just kind of new to the whole thing, this is a good way to kind of get involved in it. This is like real simple pentatonic descending runs, and and I would even recommend getting used to just taking and playing 5 notes at a time is its own challenge. So let's kind of start with that. We're going to go 15-12 on the high E string, 15-12 on the B, and then 14 on the G. Okay? Okay? Guitar went a little bit out of tune. I usually keep my strat at half step down, so it's not quite used to being in standard. Okay? Let's move down here. Let's move to box 5. 12-10 on the high E string, 12-10 on the B, to 12 on the G. See where you can cycle between those two, Okay? Now the trick is, of course, he descends through the whole scale all the way through it. Now, getting the transition is the tricky part. And like I said, and I've taught this in other videos, but I thought it was only right to show it in this video too. So that's your 5th note. Picking is down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down. And then you go to 15 again on the B string. You're going to go 15-12, 14-12, 14. Okay? Now, the trick to getting it like Eric, now you could try to alternate pick it if you want to. That's, do your own thing by all means. But, is this double down. There's 2 downs in a row. So watch my picking. I'll go through the whole sequence. Down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down. Your 5th note and your 1st note are always down. So if you want this kind of falling sound that Eric has, you kind of need it to have that like flow in there. Like I said, if you're an alternate picker and you don't want to mess with that, try alternate picking. Figure out your own way by all means. But this is just how I learned how to do it. Many years ago from watching one of his instructional videos. And get where you can do it in different positions. So that's kind of like a country blues thing. Alright, now let's talk about some of his clean chords. This was another kind of like really big aha moment for me. Because something he did, and I think this is, again, it's from one of his instructional videos, The Voice of Guitar. I can't remember it. But he's talking about these chords, and I can't do it exactly like him, just like all of this stuff. And I certainly don't have Eric's chord knowledge, because it's like insane, the chords that he plays. But one thing that really fascinated me was he was talking about moving around either your 5th or your 3rd and all that stuff, and essentially creating inversions of chords. This is where it really like dawned on me to start learning. I talk about this a lot, but like learn all these different ways to do your chords. There's so many different ways. All these chords all over the place. Oh, sorry. Okay, so one of the tricks that I kind of stole from Eric was this idea of taking this power chord. And all I'm doing is holding on 2 on the D, 4 on the G, and then 5 on the B. Okay? And what I'm doing is I'm kind of like, it's a fascinating chord because there's no 3rd in it. You just have your E, your root, your 5th, then your root again. So there's no third in this. You know, we could add it in there if we wanted to make it a major chord or a minor chord, or, you know, whatever. It's kind of open to do whatever we want. Okay, so I could add that G in there and make it kind of sound, you know, there's the minor. You know, there's different things you can do with it. But what I started doing was I just kept this constant, and I would move the bass around, and it kind of had Eric Johnson's sound to it. So I'm basically just changing my bass notes around, but I'm playing them together with my fingers in the same style that Eric does. So I have this, okay, and I'm adding my C sharp in here now, okay, and I add my F sharp down here, okay. So E power chord, nothing fancy, you know, and you can actually strum this one all the way through if you want. Then I go, okay, change my bass note again to the G sharp, so 4th fret on the low E string, 5th fret on the A. Now I have to do a whole shift here to get this, to make it a little bit easier on me. I go 5th, and oh, what is this? 4th fret on the B, or on the G, and then 5th fret on the B. What's fascinating here is this is just a good old chord. Okay? Okay? If I move this down, that's just a normal major chord. Okay? And I go up here and I grab 7, the low E string, 4 and 5. That 4 and 5 is always there. Look, it never changes. I'm just adapting my hand position to make it to where I can do that. And you can do this everywhere, you know. Because a lot of people ask me, like, what chords are you playing? And it's like, well, if I broke it down, I could probably figure it out. But a lot of time, it's just these shapes that I know. You know, they're just kind of all over the place. Alrighty guys, hope you enjoyed that video. Like I said, get your Eric Johnson on. Maybe if you're not even a fan. I mean, again, I find it hard to believe because he's such a, you know, an iconic guitar player. But maybe you're not. Maybe you're not. Maybe this stuff is kind of going to open up the door to the wonders of Eric Johnson. So, other than that, have a great day, everyone. One final tip I'll throw in here for Eric, if you're trying to get his sound a little bit, is that, you know, the same way that he likes the big intervals here, he likes these intervals just everywhere. His playing is very kind of like jumpy. You know, so if you're playing, don't just play in the same area the whole time. You know. There you have it. So other than that, guys, have a great day. If you want to, hit the subscribe button, all that jazz. And, all that jazz. Wait, hold on. I'm out of here. Bye, guys. Have a good rest of your day. Later, homies.